Let's anyway take a look at what Game Week 2 has in store, when, of course, we can put all the wrongs from Game Week 1 right, and we won't even be thinking about all of those missed points in Game Week 1 very soon. One of the most intriguing fixtures this weekend, from an FPL point of view and a Premier League point of view, Spurs versus Chelsea. Obviously, Sam, this week, one of the big moves is people getting rid of Harry Kane to bring in Erling Haaland. You've made the transfer, haven't you? I've made the transfer. Could they regret it?
Probably, yeah. I think it's one of those transfers that I did. I broke the cardinal rule, or my cardinal rule of FPL, on Sunday evening and did the Haaland to Kane move, mostly because I felt
can't believe you did that. Yeah, I cannot
I know,
believe.
Jules. Can you imagine how much this hurt me?
And him.
Jules,
when he realises.
If you hadn't got Harry Kane and Erling Haaland, if you'd gone with your original model and didn't have Haaland, would you not have made that transfer too this week?
I would have kept faith in Kane because I still think he can return against Chelsea even away. But I would have found a way of bringing Haaland and trying to keep Kane as well. But it's costly. It's a lot of changes.
The problem is with getting Kane as well as Haaland, if you haven't already set your team up in that way, is it's probably going to cost you at least a -4, probably more likely a -8. And then you have to consider how likely is it that Kane is going to score multiple goals against Chelsea, because by taking a hit like that, you kind of have to be certain that he's, going to blank or that he's only going to get one. And I agree with you. I think Kane could easily return this week. The issue is that the fixture's much harder. Haaland's got Bournemouth, which on paper is one of the easiest games that he could have going into this game week. He's on great form. City were looking for him. That's only going to have increased over a week's worth of training that they're going to have together this week. And I think, we saw from Kulusevski a hell of a lot in game week 1 of really good quality finishing, great movement, and he's significantly cheaper than Son and Kane. So in my mind, the moving Kane on was really painful for me, as you can imagine, was made slightly easier in the knowledge that it's very easy for me to get to Kulusevski next week and then have Spurs attacking players in there ahead of game week 3.
Yeah, Kulusevski's an interesting one, isn't he, Mark? Because we all talked pre-season about who's going to be the best 8 million midfielder, and I would say that he won the battle in game week 1. Do you think that's fair?
I think it is fair, and I seem to remember Fest telling you to get Kulusevski in. You took no notice, so there you go. I got that one right.
Didn't get him.
She never have you got him in my own team though.
Oh, there we go.
I didn't
then.
get him in my own team. I've got Saka and Diaz, and I had Son and Kane, so I expected to be covered for that Spurs victory, but I wasn't. So I go into game week 2 with Son and Kane. I knew I was always going to get rid of one to get a City player in for the Bournemouth game. And I've chosen to also go Kane to Haaland. Sam, have I gone right there? Am I right to keep Son over Kane?
Yeah, that's what I would have done 100%. I think, when you look at the way that Spurs played, and obviously Kelly was there, but Kane was a lot deeper, doing fantastic things. And as a Spurs fan watching him, I was like, you are creating so much space. The movement is fantastic. The balls that you're putting in are brilliant. I thought he had a fantastic game. But from an FPL perspective, it was definitely Kulusevski, the wing backs. And then if you do want one of those premiums, Son, that would be my preferred route into Spurs.
What I would say about Kulusevski is that he was up against Gineppo, who obviously isn't a wing-back for Southampton. So I think he had a bit of a field day because he was up against someone not used to playing in that position. So It's difficult to judge it on that performance. We'll see how he does at Stamford Bridge, of course.
What I will say is that when you look at Kulusevski's underlying stats since he joined the Premier League, he's assisted 9 goals since February. That's the most of any player in the Premier League. And in fact, only Dembele has assisted more across the whole of the top 5 leagues in European football. And then when you look at him in terms of attacking returns, only Son and Kane have had more than him across the Premier League since his debut in February. So the underlying stats massively support that he will continue to have a good season for Spurs.
It's interesting. Kulusevski feels like he's becoming one of the most popular options at Spurs, and we've wanted a cheaper attacking option at Spurs, haven't we, for quite some time. Kane has had almost 700,000 transfers out. He's the most transferred out player of the game week so far, something that we very rarely say. In fact, Spurs make 3 of the top 4 most transferred out players. So people being very quick to react on that. How do you think they'll fare this weekend then against Chelsea, Jules? Because that fixture will likely be another reason that people will think, well, Harry Kane isn't going to score I don't think we can say that about any fixture when it comes to Harry Kane, can we?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, remember last season, they didn't score any in their 4 games against Chelsea, didn't score any goals at all. They lost 3 and drawn 1-0. They were tough games, even when Conte arrived. I think they're going to park the bus, honestly. I think Conte would be very happy with a 0-0 draw, for example, and try just to hit them on the counter. That's why I'm very reluctant to sell Kane or to sell Son that I don't have, but because I think, and Kulusevski, they will be the only 3 players I think that will attack at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. But that could be enough for Spurs to score a goal. But I think they will be very solid. They won't want to concede. They will play really deep, which I think will frustrate Chelsea. And I can easily see a 0-0 draw coming up. So even if you have Chelsea defensive assets, I don't think that's too much of a problem because I think they will have a lot of the ball. And yes, of course, they can always concede a goal to Kane or Son or Kulusevski. But I think it will be quite a old school attack v defense kind of game that can easily finish in a 0-0 draw.